Everyone, and welcome to the Springfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting. It's September 12th, 2017, approximately 5:30 p.m. Mr. Burning, may we please have the roll call?
Yes, Ms. McFarland?
Present.
Mr. Honolo?
Present.
Mr. Bernie?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
If everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few special presentations this evening. The first is the Star Scholarship Award, and it's going to be presented to Cece Pratt. I'd like to invite Cece and Holly Pratt to the front of the room. And Ms. Flam, would you please tell us more about the Scholarship Award?
Throughout 2016, Arts Connect worked with a consulting firm with the goal of growing the organization's reach in the community and support the hiring of an education director. This year, one program came from the work done in 2016 was the creation of a full-time summer arts camp program. The camp ran for 10 weeks and offered parents a safe, creative place for their children in the summer. Arts Connect grew its reach and accepted 86 enrollments for the summer camp program. But one quite unique and unexpected outcome of the camp came to us in the form of a scholarship pledge, donated anonymously by a generous individual who found joy in several stories that came from the Arts Connect camp program. One story shared was a story of Cece Pratt. Cece is a 10-year-old girl who was a member of the Arts Connect camp. And although Cece had some physical limitations, she never let what she couldn't do get in the way of what she could do. She absolutely loves art and finds art as a great way to communicate her thoughts and ideas. She worked especially hard in making pages of stars, which she learned from our camp counselor, Jeremy Griffin. Cece's smile lit up the room every day in camp, and when she was away on vacation or in therapy, the rest of the kids in camp stated several times how much that they missed her. The Star Award Scholarship was created to embody the spirit of creativity, respect, communication, kindness, teamwork, a fun-loving attitude towards art, trying new experiences, and sharing them with others who might be different from themselves. The scholarship is awarded to one camper at the end of the camp season and is valid for a fully paid tuition of the camp the following summer. Tonight, Arts Connect and the Springfield Township Board of Trustees is pleased to award Cece Pratt as Arts Connect's very first Star Award recipient. Her hard work, dedication, amazing smile, and great attitude set the standards for others to come. We would also like to take this time to sincerely thank the donor of this very generous award who wishes to remain anonymous.
Did such a tremendous job with the art camp. I was looking for a camp where her disabilities wouldn't be a terrible disadvantage and she could enjoy herself. And she loved art so much. So they did an amazing job, and she really blossomed this summer in ways that I hadn't expected. And it was also the parents of the kids who kept them there the whole summer, so she formed lasting relationships. But the art program itself, you guys are doing a great thing, I think, because putting the art program for children and families in the building where seniors all visit every day is masterful. And I just think it's a wonderful thing to do. So thank you. And thank you to the anonymous donor. We are just truly grateful. I apologize for
Thanks for coming, Cece. Thanks, Cece and Kim, for all your work. The next presentation this evening is from Jacqueline Hutzel from the Council on Aging. Ms. Hutzel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak to you today about the Hamilton County Elderly Services Program. We often refer to it as the ESP program. The program is funded by the taxpayers of Hamilton County and serves older adults and their families. And I'd like to take the next few minutes to explain the program and how it is funded and answer any questions that you might have. Now, please bear with me because they gave me a script. And so I am now going off the script a little bit so I can feel a little more comfortable. So please bear with me. The first thing that I want to share with you is that the Elderly Service Program makes it possible for more than 5,000 Hamilton County seniors age 60 plus to remain independent in their homes and provide services such as Meals on Wheels, medical transportation, and home care assistance. Here in Springfield Township, the program serves 244 seniors in 2016. The typical ESP client is a woman in her late 70s, so just imagine that, who lives alone due to declining health and mobility issues. She is unable to perform activities such as housework, driving, bathing, preparing her food, or managing medication. She needs help, but not nursing home care. Without this program and these basic services, she and many other Hamilton County seniors would find it necessary to move in a nursing home. They would lose their independence, their privacy, and their connection to home and the community. And for those who go on Medicaid in nursing homes, the cost of the care would be much higher for taxpayers, about $4,000 a month. You may be aware that the voters will be asked to approve an increase in the Hamilton County Senior Services tax levy this fall. I'd like to share some facts about the levy in Hamilton County's growing older adult population to help explain why the increase is necessary. Number one, the oldest old in our country, those age 85 and older, are among the fastest growing portion of our population. From 2020 to 2040, the percentage of county residents who are age 85 and older will grow by 61%. 40% of people over age 85 have dementia. Now, I don't know if you've ever been affiliated with anyone with dementia, but it is a debilitating mind disease. Number two, also since 2008, Hamilton County has been losing ground in the efforts to serve this population. That's the year the levy last saw an increase in funding. But in nearly 10 years since then, the levy has actually lost money, primarily because of the changes in property value and the state collection policy. The levy today earns about $2 million less per year than it did in 2008. With less funding available, Council on Aging has had to make changes to the program to keep the program fiscally sound. As a result, the program is serving 27% fewer seniors today than it did in 2008. The current $1.29 mill levy will expire at the end of this year. It costs property owners about $29.40 per $100 of property value. For the program to continue and be allowed to grow to serve the Hamilton County seniors, county commissioners have approved a $1.6 mill levy for the November ballot. The proposed levy will generate about $25.6 million annually and will cost the average homeowner about $40 per $100,000 of property value. This is an increase of about 10.85 per year, not per month, per year, or less than $1 per month. 92% of the funding for the Elderly Services Program comes from Hamilton County's Senior Service Tax Levy. In other words, it would not exist without the levy. Hamilton County seniors and caregivers like Florence and her daughter, Lana, some clients that are on our elderly service program are very grateful for the support. And you may know people that are on the elderly services program. So this evening, I would like to thank you for allowing me to share this information about the Hamilton County Elderly Service Program and the Senior Services Tax Levy. And again, everyone involved is very grateful for the strong support from the community, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have a question. So it's going from, they're asking it to go from $28 $100,000 to $40 $100,000, not an additional $40, right? Is that
So,
right? Okay. I was a little confused. So they're asking for a $12 a year increase. Okay. I just want to be sure that, okay.
yes,
That's good.
Yes. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, and I ask you to please
How much
vote
does the
for-
levy
Yes,
bring,
sir.
how much does the levy bring in now?
The levy brings in now, let me get to the exact page for that. I have that answer. I do not have it readily available to me because I have notes here. But I will
That's
find
okay.
out for you.
That's okay, but yeah, I'm sure we could look it up, but, no, appreciate all the information. It's good for us to know.
Do you have any material you can leave for any of our residents tonight that are here?
Yes, if your residents would like information, I have 10 reasons to support issue 5. That's the number we've been given for the Hamilton County Senior Services Tax Levy. And if I could leave it in the back, that would be great.
That would be
But I
fantastic.
did want to get your permission, so thank you for asking, Ms. McFarland. All right, and so on this, it should have that information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hutzel.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You as well.
Our last guest this evening is Ms. Denise Treehouse, Hamilton County Commissioner, who is here as part of her 49 and 49 campaign. Welcome, Ms. Treehouse.
Thank you. It's now the 49 and 49 or so campaign. I didn't make it in 49 days. I don't know how long ago I started this, but you are number 45, and I think I'm going to 46 right after I leave this. So I'm almost there. But it's been a lot of fun. So I'm traveling around as the newly elected county commissioner to not only introduce myself and the services of the county by way of partnership, but also to try to get information about what's going on here. I generally can stick around for a minute and listen to what's happening at the meetings. I do want to say Trustee McFarland was part of our tax levy review committee this year. She's been on the review committee for how many years? A lot.
A lot.
I know, I'm sorry. A lot of years, but she served as the chair this year, so I'm very grateful that Gwen was
Thank
willing
you.
to step up, and it was a lot of time and a lot of effort, and
Yes, it
I'm
was.
personally very grateful that you were willing to continue to do that work. So I am here representing the county. I, as a new commissioner, have learned a lot about county services and a lot of ways different jurisdictions, there are 49, use the county as a partner to buy salt, to maintain fire hydrants, to do economic development planning, to use the sheriff's office as safety patrols, to participate in the heroin coalition to try to get a handle on the heroin epidemic in various jurisdictions. And so I went around to the administration and said, hey, I'd like to take this out to the jurisdictions. So I have what I like to refer to as my menu of opportunity. So embrace it or don't, up to you entirely. But these are the options, or some of the options that exist by way of partnership with the county. So if you're, with your permission, I'm going to pass these out. They have contact information on them for all the different departments, and it gives you kind of an overview of what exists at the county. There is more, but this is some of the stuff that's going on in different jurisdictions. Also,
Thank
you will
you.
find that the county commissioner information is on the back. They do know that I'm doing this. So Chris Monzel and Todd Fortune are on board with the 49 and 49. And we're, you know, I think the message is that we are happy to partner when it makes sense to local jurisdictions. We are open for business, and I am not sure, and what I have learned is not every jurisdiction is aware of all these opportunities. And so I'm here trying to just deliver the message, open the door, and encourage you to take a look and see if anything fits for Springfield Township. So that's all I got. Happy to answer questions. I did text Suzanne Burke about the senior levy to see what the dollar amount is of the amount that the levy brings in now and what it would bring in. But to clarify, it's about $11 a year increase that's being asked for.
And it's based on the numbers from 2016 taxes, right? The auditors,
Yeah,
he's reappraising.
this will, remember that they haven't gotten an increase in 10 years.
Right.
This is $11 in addition to what they get now. Yes.
$29.40 to $40, roughly.
I know. It was a different, I was saying that the values that it's 10 million less is based on the 16 property values.
Right.
And they'll go up in 17, most likely, but that's all
To put
right.
this in context, too, there are 3 levies that are going to be on the ballot this year that are relevant to the county commission. Mental health, it will remain flat, indigent care will remain flat, and seniors is the one where there's an increase. There are other levies on the ballot, too, but those are the ones that pertain to the county.
Thank
So
you.
the
Mr.
other two levies are just basically a renewal at the same rate?
That's right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the fact of the matter is that even though mental health, flat is flat, so they will get the same funding.
Exactly.
With indigent care, as was true of seniors in the last cycle, flat is not flat. Flat is actually a decrease because of some action that was taken at the state level. And so in this cycle, they will bring in a little bit less than they have in the past. We had long, grueling meetings
Yes,
with
we
the
did.
TLRC and with some of the advocates, talked to the hospitals in particular about whether or not they could manage that, and they were committed to work within the revenue that would be brought in with a flat levy, or this reduction. So we will talk at length to them and some of the other agencies that are impacted by that. But we felt as though the senior levy was the most compelling, and that we could probably advocate for 1 increase, but 2 might be 1 or 2 too many. And so we had to make a tough call on that, and we went by way of seniors.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Ehouse.
And I
you.
just want to, again, thank and commend Ms. Dreehouse, because when we had meetings, we've had several meetings, and she was always available and provided the information that we needed, and for being so open and understanding of some of the challenges we had as a TLRC committee, trying to get some information. Thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Yep.
You and the other commissioners as well.
Yes, thank you. Feel free to call anytime.
Thank you. Moving on with our agenda this evening, we have the approval of minutes from August 8, 2017 public hearing, the August 8, 2017 regular meeting, and the August 22nd, 2017 regular work session. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
So move.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Next on our agenda, Mr. Bernie, do you have a fiscal report for us?
Yes, I do, Mr. Bernie. For the month ending August 31st, 2017, the township expenditures were $1,875,593.25, and the receipts were $1,101,688.79. The ending cash balance of $17,857,119.40 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. I do request a motion to approve the receipts warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue and reports for the period ending August 31st. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, and I want to let everyone know that financial reports are available for viewing at the administration offices weekdays during regular business hours or on our website anytime. Thank you, Mr. Burning.
Thank you, Mr. Bernie. Next, moving on to the department action and discussion items. Mr. Hinnenkamp, do you have a report for us?
I do, Mr. Burning, and we're going to start out with talking about salt. Even though it's still summertime, we're going to talk about preparing for winter. The first is I'm seeking the board's authorization to enter into an agreement with the City of Mount Healthy. This allows the City of Mount Healthy to actually purchase up to 250 tons of salt from the township. This is an arrangement that we've had in partnership with Mount Healthy, I believe the last 2 or 3 years. Correct. It's worked out really well. They would actually be purchasing salt from us as our purchase price from last year's contract, which was $52.39. But in all other ways, the agreement is essentially the same. So just seeking a board's motion from the board to allow me to enter into that agreement with the City of Mount Healthy.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then the next item would actually be an agreement directly with Morton Salt. Mike Gould, our Public Works Director, has negotiated a very good agreement with Morton. Typically, we've done a variety of different things, but the last few years, we've actually been on ODOT's purchase list. We're in a pretty good position this year because of the very light winter that we had last year. We have approximately about 3,000 tons in our dome. At the present time, we're still obligated to take an additional 2,500 tons on our contract from 16 and 17, so that'll be arriving before probably the end of October, right, Mike? And then this is more of a kind of a safety net, just assuming we would get a fairly decent winter. We want to have a contract in place. We've appropriated $50,000, and so this agreement with Morton Salt allows us to purchase up to 1,000 tons. It's my understanding we'd only be obligated for 20, but we could go anywhere from 20 to 1,000. It's kind of that safety net for next year, so that at this time next year, worst case scenario, we should be able to start the winter with a full dome full of salt. Purchase price on the per ton with this contract would be $48.35, so about $4 cheaper per ton than what we have on our current contract. So just seeking, again, authorization by the board to allow me to enter into that agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then the final contract issue I have is, again, seeking board's authorization to allow me to enter into an agreement with Mail Finance, Post. This is our postage metering for the township. This is actually for both admin, general services, and our police department. There's a couple of different, we're coming off of a 3-year agreement. There is a pretty decent break in the price if we go to 5 years. If we do 5 years as opposed to 3 years, we'd save approximately $400 over those 2 years. So I would be my recommendation that we go with the 5-year agreement. And again, just seeking the board's authorization to allow me to enter into that agreement with Mail Finance for our postage meter.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We have a liquor permit request. This is a new permit by Franciscan Ministries, doing business as the Centennial Barn at 110 Compton Road. This is a new permit. The Centennial Barn, I believe, has had alcohol previous, but they've done those on temporary permits, and they're now seeking to have a permanent permit. I don't believe there's any objections, correct, Chief? So it'd be my recommendation that the board pass motions submitting our typical letter indicating that we do not request a hearing on this liquor permit.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion
And-
carries.
Just one other action item. It's not on the agenda. Mr. Gilbert did indicate to me that we do need to schedule 2 public hearings for community development block grant applications. We're at that time of the year. It'd be our recommendation that we do these 2 public hearings as we have customarily in the first part of our regular board meeting, so that we would schedule that for 5:30 p.m. on our next board meeting, which would be regular board meeting, which would be October 10th, and then do the same thing on November the 14th, both at 5:30. So just need a motion for the board to do that. The program does require that we schedule 2 public hearings, so that's why we're recommending the 2.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
By way of discussion items, I just wanted to make the board aware that we did, in fact, there was some correspondence that was actually directly sent to trustee Hunter Law by a Beth Sheehan and a Lori Ratley. I did speak to Ms. Sheehan about this issue, and she is requesting that the board support the passing of a dog tethering resolution. Here in Springfield Township, I believe they have been instrumental in having such actions being taken throughout different jurisdictions in Ohio, and she did send a couple of samples of resolutions and ordinances that have been passed. The one that looks like it would be more fitting for the township would be one that Boardman Township in Mahoning County passed back in 2016. I think the board has had an opportunity to look at it. It is really pretty common sense. I mean, there's not a whole lot that you would want to disagree with. In other words, if somebody was tethering an animal in a way different than what is described here, I think it'd be pretty clear that that would be an abuse of that animal. I think the concern is also that Ms. Sheehan indicated is that dogs that are tethered in ways that are different than this typically are going to be the animals that are going to get loose. They're going to be a frustrated animal. Those are going to be the dogs that would typically bite or terrorize if they do get loose in a neighborhood. Talked to Chief Browder about this, and I believe Chief, we've had some discussion about it, and he's certainly in favor of it. I don't think we'd have a ton of situations where this comes up, but it does come up from time to time, and in fact, we probably have one now where had we had this, it would have been helpful.
We have one that's in the township that chronically barks, which is another issue with tethering a dog. They chronically bark when they're supposed to. There's one particular instance that's been going on for probably a year now that if with this resolution would help us greatly to enforce at least that one. I'm sure there's probably a few others.
So I guess it'd be my recommendation is to get with Ms. Abrams and maybe take a look at how we might be able to wrap this type of resolution into some existing, our barking dog resolution or some other things that we have related to that. So that's kind of I think what it does essentially is this makes our policy a little bit more comprehensive and gives us a few more tools to deal with some of the unique situations that come up. I think, initially I was kind of opposed when I spoke to her on the phone just because it's difficult to police some of these things, but this is pretty common sense stuff, and I think it could be helpful. So really just seeking the board's direction if that's where you want us to go to do some more research on it, pursue maybe how we can wrap this into some existing resolution that we have regarding dogs, and report back either in October or November to the board for possible later action.
There's no question if the dog's inhumanely restricted, that does make them more aggressive and, more likely to bite somebody or terrorize also if you have a child. So I think it's a good idea.
I would like to see a little more research, especially once you get everything written out, that it's clear, so that when a neighbor or anyone calls the police, the steps are already clearly in place so that the issue can be resolved in a timely manner. That's what I would like to see.
I guess, Laura, I would want to see what have other jurisdictions done. I mean, I'm taking this under our home rule, it would be under our home rule jurisdiction. Let's see what some of the other jurisdictions have done. I'd like to see the specific, criteria that would be outlined in any proposed resolution.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely take a look at it. Like I said, I don't think we want to become the dog police and, be
No.
chasing down and harassing
No.
residents, but when there's situations where it's clearly being done in a humane manner, we want to be able to deal with those. So, okay, we'll report back to the board in October on where our progress is. Also, just wanted to remind everyone that October is Fire Prevention Month, and our annual fire open house will take place on Saturday, October the 7th, from noon to 4. Chief, did you want to mention anything in addition to that?
Absolutely. October the 7th is our annual open house. We will have a full day of activities. It starts at noon and will go until 4. We have various demonstrations planned throughout the day. Air Care will be landing at approximately 1 o'clock, depending on their availability, but hopefully everything will go well. So the whole focus and our mission is education, but it's a great opportunity to just come up, visit the firehouse. You can go through the firehouse. You can see the equipment that your tax dollars allows us to purchase and to use. And it's just a great opportunity to come up and get to meet your firefighters, see the firehouse that you all allow us to operate in. And so hopefully all of you will be encouraged to attend. We'd love to see you.
Thanks, Chief. And while we've got you there, we may want to let you talk about the next thing. Springfield Township is accepting donations for the hurricane victims. This obviously started out as donations for Harvey, and then, of course, is going to continue with Irma, and hopefully it's not going to continue with Jose, which at this point looks like we might be lucky on that one. But just some really devastating footage that we've seen with the two recent ones, and individuals who would like to make a donation can do so by bringing it here. We do have a truck that is set up that we can accept the donations. Chief, you want to talk a little bit about that, and then that we will then be moving those forward over to Matthew.
We will be accepting donations from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. We ask that you pull behind the firehouse. The firefighters will greet you and assist you in removing the donations and placing it in our vehicle. We are actually going to Matthew 25 Ministries tomorrow to drop off some of those donations. We filled up the truck today due to some donations that were given to us through the Finneytown School District. So they are looking primarily for non-perishables, clothing, no cash or checks, but we will take just about anything you have. And we are the drop-off site for Matthew 25 Ministries, and we are providing the transportation so that it's more convenient for you and you don't have to go to Blue Ash. So if you have any questions, please call. Otherwise, we're open from 8 till 12 to accept donations. Thank you.
Where would you
8 to
like,
8.
where would you
8
like
to
them? Yes, 8 to 8.
8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Where would you like them to call?
They can
number?
call the firehouse at 521-7578. If they have any questions.
Okay, moving on, just have the personnel update. Did accept the resignation of Anthony Dryden, part-time EMT firefighter. Effective date of his resignation was August the 24th of this year. Did accept resignations in our senior community center. Robert Hagelin as a building monitor, effective date September 1st, and Sue Stevens, also a building monitor, same effective date. We did hire Geraldine Sanders as a building monitor on September 1st, and then we did have 3 of our seasonal laborers in the Public Works Department, Connor Akis, Kristen Goldick, and Michael Hartman, all completed their seasonal work for this season on August 10th, August 11th, respectively. I think just a couple of other things. I did want to mention that we did receive notice today that Daly Road in Springfield Township between Meredith and Wellspring will be closed due to construction. That will be a replacement of a storm culvert that will go across the road that will start next Tuesday on September the 19th, and that road closure will go through Tuesday, October the 3rd. So, of course, that's weather permitting and assuming they can stay on schedule. So there will be detours posted as to how to get around that particular area, but it's a fairly congested area, so for a couple of weeks, that could be kind of a tough spot. Finally got Meredith opened, and
Yes, and it looks so
We've got,
wonderful.
we've got other closings, but unfortunately, it's part of the deal. And I just thought it might be a good idea to mention, we talked a little bit about about levies, and also to remind the voters that we also have a levy here in Springfield Township. Our fire levy will be on the ballot. Like many of the ones that have been talked about, it is a renewal, so there is no increase in taxes. It is simply to continue a levy that will be expiring. It was a 5-year levy, and this levy is to put it on for 5 more years at exactly the same rate. So no tax increase with this, and it's simply to continue with what we have. So turn things over to Kim. Kim, you want to bring us up to date on what's going on with community events and programs?
Sure. September 22nd, we have our next theater production. It's an improv comedy show featuring the improv group, The Middle Child. September 29th is Arts Connect's last afternoon concert series with a food truck. And we've got Bones Brother Wings that is going to be the food for that event, and a little pop duo called Cherry on Top for the music. October 7th is the fire department open house. And October the 20th, we have our final theater production. It's The Hounds of the Baskervilles, and it's going to be a radio theater production.
Thanks, Kim. Mr. Burning, I know the board has copies of departmental activity reports, but unless there's any questions, that is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hennekamp. Next, before the board, we have a few resolutions. The first resolution is resolution number 80-2017, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township, and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have resolution number 81-2017, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 82-2017, authorizing the private sale of junk motor vehicles which were titled to the township pursuant to revised code 4513.61 and revised code 4513.62, and which are not needed or unfit for use in any township department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 83-2017, supplemental appropriations within the general fund, police district fund, fire district fund, permissive motor vehicle license tax fund, ambulance and emergency medical services fund, state law enforcement fines fund, and the public improvement tax increment equivalent fund. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is resolution number 84-2017, declaring a dangerous property condition at 2044 North Bend Road. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Mike, can we please?
Yeah, Mr. Burning, now that that the board has taken action to declare that a dangerous property condition, I would recommend that the board schedule a public hearing as required by law, and I would recommend that we do that public hearing on October the 10th, which is the date of our next regular meeting, but do that at 5 p.m., 1 half hour prior to the start of our regular meeting.
We just have one
We just-
public hearing or two?
We'll have two
Just
public
one on
hearings.
this
One at
particular
5, one
issue.
at 5:30.
Okay,
Oh, this one will be a 5?
This one will be at 5, correct, is what I'm recommending.
okay. My calendar.
Everybody okay?
I'm okay with that.
We need a motion.
Probably a motion to do that.
So move.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is resolution number 85-2017. Authorize the filing of an application pursuant to revised code 2981.12 and revised code 3719.11 to authorize the destruction and/or retention of property that's been surrendered, unclaimed, lost, abandoned, stolen, forfeited, or otherwise lawfully seized. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second it?
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honoloff?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Okay, those are all the resolutions. Next, we have, do we have any old business before the board?
I have no old business.
I don't have any, well, I
Oh.
guess maybe it's slightly old. We have one of our residents in our township. He is, the community had a fantastic celebration of his life. He's 93 years old, and he is one of the original surviving Tuskegee Airmen. And so had great turnout in the community. And the thing that I found so awesome about this gentleman is they had some, it was very musical at the church, the gathering, and they had some dancing that was going on, and I couldn't believe he got up there and he just danced with everyone, 93 years old. And he is just an awesome person. So anyone that, when you run into him, is Mr. Leslie Edwards, and he's just an icon in Springfield Township.
Well, and that's the same gentleman that we had at a meeting with a
Yes.
year or so ago.
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
Were you dancing?
a little bit.
Under new business, do we have any new business before the board?
Only just one brief thing, and this kind of goes back to the fire department. Every month, and I don't bring these up often, and unfortunately, every month, the township gets letters from citizens thanking us for the job that the fire department did. And unfortunately, I got this letter, and I've carried it around in my car all month, and I've left it out there. I realized after the meeting started, it's in my car. But one of our residents was thrown by a horse, I believe, back at Muddy Waters property over on Mill Road. And that's a very long, kind of wooded property, and I think it's a lot of up and down, and it's real rough terrain. And our paramedics, I think there was about 4 or 5 of them, had to go back there and carry her the whole way out. And she was with, and I don't have the names right here unless you know them, Chief, but I just wanted to say every month we get letters of appreciation. She said these guys were so good to me, even though it was like a really hot day and they had to really, hike back in there to find her and get her out. But we see that we get this all the time, and we appreciate the great job that your men do. Men and women. Yes. Thanks, Chief.
Joe, if you've ever walked back there or been back
I
there, I
have.
don't see how you guys did it, I swear.
It was muddy.
And it was muddy.
And that doesn't help the
That's the name,
situation.
yeah.
Yes.
And it was
It's
muddy back.
very far back off of Mill Road.
Yeah.
It's rugged, let's just put
Yes.
it that way. You guys are just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Next part of our meeting is citizens' participation. If anyone here this evening would like to address the board, we would ask you come to the podium, and please state your name and address for the record.
Well, 2668 Blue Hill Drive, Seven Hills. And how you ladies and gentlemen doing tonight?
Fine.
We all up in Seven Hills. Let me see the show here.
Whoa.
We come together because we're tired of what's going on in Seven Hills. Okay? I'm going to start off with the trash. We got really bad trash problems, and the merchants up there isn't helping. They don't clean up their property. They got paper and garbage, cups, glasses, cans, all over the property. And I even sent them a letter, a courtesy letter saying, this is shag. We'd like you guys to maybe, take a little more pride in the property and clean it up. We're trying to have a better neighborhood. So I see that didn't work. So I physically went in there and talked to some of them. Some of them, talked all right. Some got a little smart, some got a little sarcastic. So I said, that ain't gonna work. So I try to do all this before I bring it to you guys. We need help down in Seven Hills. We need help bad. I'm not taking anything away from you guys. Some of the things you do pretty good. I talked to the chief. He does a good job with me. Just about everything I asked of him. We got the trash under control a little bit. The stuff we report, it gets done, but maybe I'm impatient. I don't know, but it just seems like it takes a while to get done. Maybe what time we're living in, just squalor and trash, and I'm gonna pass these pictures around. You can just kind of briefly look at them. I'm gonna just show you what we live in. Start.
Jerry, you got the car wash on that?
Yes.
I took pictures last night.
We're just kind of passing around and we'll see what we're faced up against around the Seven Hills. We just got a very bad problem with trash for some reason. People not paying the garbage bill like this, and not dumping their garbage, they just putting it on the streets. It sits there for 3 or 4 weeks. Bags of garbage, you can see by the pictures. Bags of garbage. We call people to tell them that people are not dumping their garbage, they leave it out there, the animals gets into it. They put, scatter it all over the neighborhood. And I get my crew out every weekend, and I pay these guys, and we go around and try to pick it up and clean it up the best we can. And just like we clean up behind them, they're steadily going back. What I'm trying to figure out is what can we do about the overwhelming garbage in Seven Hills? What can people be fined maybe? Can they take some kind of responsibility on trash being in their yard, trash, around their property? Even the merchants up there, you would think that they would at least clean their property up, but they don't. All over the shopping center, just trash and paper. Little Caesars, trash and paper. Rallies, trash and paper. Sunoco, trash, paper. The little strip mall with the fish place and the iPhone place, just trash and garbage just everywhere. One guy that got the custom shop, he said he's going to try to solve the problem by fencing his yard in. He said, I'm not going to pick up paper outside the fence. I said, well, he said, because the wind blew it over. I said, well, you can't direct the wind. The wind don't tell the paper where to go. I said, if it blows in there, you're still responsible for it.
Which one was that, Joe?
That used to be Savage Auto Parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw the fence going up there today.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's the one he said he was going to put a fence up to keep the garbage out. I talked to him. I talked to the people at Sunoco.
Joe, there are quite a few photographs of the car wash.
Yeah,
And I know
that set is before, that set gets worse. It's cleaned up now. They cleaned it up and really looks
So this
good.
is cleaned up?
It's cleaned up. It got cleaned up today.
Okay.
Oh, so it's clean now at the car wash?
Yeah, all those pictures is just before.
Right, I get it.
All that stuff is cleaned up now, but what I'm saying is it takes a long time. I know it's a process that we probably got to go through, but all the trash and stuff you see on the pictures now, all is cleaned up.
Who cleaned it up? Did we do it, or did the owners?
Well, I talked to Cindy. I think she
Cindy
sent
was
people
following.
out to do some
Right.
of the cleanup.
We did most of it?
A lot of,
5 guys, 6 hours there.
Oh, my gosh.
I know it.
I spent 6 hours cleaning that place.
Joe, is this one with the high vegetation? Is that the west side?
That's the part that we wish would get cut, because people was complaining about the rodents and snakes coming in their yard. So all I ask is that, I know we're supposed to get wildflowers, but it never happened. We would
This
like.
looks like a business. Is that one on the west side of Hamilton?
That's a business, isn't it, Joe?
Oh, yeah, that's a biz, that's
That's what's the name, owns a service station.
yeah, that's the gas, that's the,
Sunoco?
no, it's the car wash, I'm sorry.
That's car wash?
Yeah, that's
So that would be on our side of the road.
yeah, this is our
That
time.
would, that would be in the township.
So the guy at the car wash having all that garbage all over, he doesn't think that hurts his business?
Well, the car wash is closed down.
Well, car
Oh,
washes,
close.
they don't go there very often. He might change the liquids once a month.
If we're using it.
They don't, it's not like they're there very often.
But it's all self-serve.
It's supposed to be a self-serve, I think he went out of business, but he ought to at least come in and maybe board the stalls up, because I believe people is actually living in it. I mean, it's mattresses.
It's all the mattress.
Oh, he went out of business?
But I mean, it looks good now. If you go by there now, it's really beautiful. I mean, it's, it's cleaned up nice. We, been dealing with this now for about, 4 or 5 months, 6 months maybe,
Well, if it's been abandoned and there's no longer, it's not workable, then we need to track and find out who the owner is and do what we normally do, what Cindy does, find out who the owner, and then send some information to them.
We need to make people liable, somebody should be responsible for this. Just like there's a lot of neighborhoods that, I used to live in the Bay apartment way before I come to, Sutton. Out there, even in winter, if they see paper and garbage in your yard, you was liable for that. You got fined, and they charge you money if you didn't clean up and pick it up. See, what it is, ain't nobody being held accountable for nothing, so they feel like they can just throw it down. Because ain't nobody got an answer to nobody for nothing. And obviously, we feel that they should be held liable or responsible for their properties looking the way they're looking. I don't care if they are rented or whatever. These merchants, there's no excuse for them. I mean, most of them serve food. You would think they would go out there and pick the trash up. They don't. And then the wind blows, the trash blows it down in our community. We got to live amongst this, and we're tired of living like this. Then we get to the kids loitering and hanging out. We had this incident that happened last week with all this gunfire. People are now afraid. Everybody's scared. Everybody's scared that they might get shot. A bullet might come in their door. It's just what I'm saying. We need help down here in Seven Hills. And you guys got to help us. We're behind you 100%. And just about everybody in here, I take their homeowners, right? Yeah. We're just tired of it. So I asked these people, let's come in here tonight. Let's talk to the trustees. Let's see if we get some cooperation. Let's see what we can get done. So we can have a better life down there in Seven Hills. We're not going to let these thugs take our community away from us. I'm not, I go down trying. They're not going to run me out. So that's how I feel about it,
Joe, I think we need, if this service station or car wash has been abandoned, there is something, we need to research that and see, go through the title checks and all that, and then get back with the community regarding what the outcomes are. Because, you guys, the way it looks, and it took that many individuals to clean it up, that's a hot mess. That's,
And that was.
What are people?
Can that be considered a nuisance?
Stuff that was added.
What are people doing, just like working on their car in the lot, or congregating there?
They're working on their cars. They also is not paying their garbage bill. So
And
what
just
they
throw
do,
it
they
there?
bring the garbage up there. They bring it up to anywhere they can
Just get rid
put
of
it.
it?
Now what the merchants are doing, they're locking their dumpsters, okay? Now they ain't got nowhere to do it, set it, so they'll set it beside the dumpster, or they just throw it somewhere. These are renters, because I know homeowners ain't gonna do this, these are
Right.
renters that don't wanna pay their garbage bill. Somebody need to be held liable for that, because
I agree.
if we wasn't picking it up, now just think, if I wasn't coming up here complaining about it, or calling y'all complaining about it, if I didn't care, just imagine how it would look.
I
Just
understand.
imagine how this community would look. If nobody didn't say nothing, didn't show no kind of care, it would like a war zone down there.
I had a resident call me, they yelled at somebody because their kid dropped a bag of McDonald's out the back window and said, "Ma'am, your son just dropped a bag." She grabbed up her bag and threw it at him through the window. So it's the parents. Parents need to be
It
responsible.
starts with the parents.
Right.
And then we got like 500 out there. People just race up and down the street. They blow through stop signs. They don't, you be out cutting the grass and they just whiz by you, your shirt flapping in the wind, they be going so fast. We're tired of that. We're tired of the way they racing through Seven Hills, and it's just the younger people that just don't care. You know, they just get in the car and they just blow through stop sign, they just doing 50, 60, 70 miles up and down Blue Hill, up and down Roosevelt, up and down Seven Hills. You know, you can't even walk on the street. You know, you can't even walk on the curb.
Well, Joe, if any of these homes, if they are rental property, then as you are already doing, call Cindy, and then she can begin the research, because she's usually very swift in
Yes, she is.
getting the notification and giving you feedback. And then we can begin moving, and you guys have just done a fantastic job in
Yeah, Cindy, she
trying to
really worked
clean
for
it
me. I
up
got it.
and making it look presentable, and I thank you for that.
Oh, it looks a whole lot better now. I mean, I thank you guys for getting it done, but. you
The
know,
problem is-
we gotta hold somebody responsible. It shouldn't be you guys going to clean up behind us. You know, really. They should have
40 days.
enough adultness in there and pride to clean up behind themselves, but,
I
you know,
know.
that's embarrassing for me to have to keep calling you guys, complaining about trash. I really feel embarrassed doing that.
Joe, it's not just in Seven Hills, it's everywhere. People are pigs. I got the law office across the street, there's Papa John's right next to us. I drive into the law office the other morning, somebody had had a pizza, their pizza box, all their napkins, all their cups, everything. They got done eating it in the car, throw it right out the window, take off.
Yeah,
You know,
and they did
and
that
just-
right in front of my neighbor here.
Yeah.
They trashed the street so bad that when I went over there, and I was talking to them, and she was so upset, you know, she was about ready to cry, and it just upsetted me.
Yeah.
I mean, I got really upset, so I grabbed a bucket and a tongs, and I went and picked it up by myself, up and down the whole street. And I said, we're gonna do something about this, you know. That's the street Birch Ridge where they, you know, they hang that, you know about Birch Ridge. But I'm not gonna, I know they wanna say something, so I'm gonna say it, but I'm gonna let other people talk here. Someone want to talk to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
You know, but one of the things I would recommend is, you know, allow me to get with all the department heads. Mr. Gilbert, obviously, Development Services is going to be dealing more directly on the nuisance piece, but also get with each of our department heads as we do, you know, our monthly performance stat, but we also do weekly meetings as well on the issues that we need to focus on. And, you know, as Mr. Rivers is indicating, and as you indicated, Joe, yeah, it is a problem all over the township. There's no question. It's a problem all over society right now. It's not unique to Springfield Township, but clearly, as you can see in those pictures, it's gotten far worse than what it is. And so we're going to need a more strategic, kind of comprehensive approach to it. And, you know, I don't have the direct answer, because some of these things aren't as easy. When somebody puts their trash out on the curb, unless you see them actually physically doing that, it's going to be pretty hard to cite anybody or hold anybody accountable, because that's now in the right of way. It's not on any private property. Obviously, where you've got the business properties, we can kind of take care of that. But we're going to need a more long-term sort of comprehensive approach. And I guess what I would recommend to the board is, you know, let me get the staff together, let us brainstorm some ideas as to how we can do it. We'll reach out to you, Joe, or to whoever in the neighborhood, and include you on some of those thoughts. And you know, we'll get on this over over a long period of time. You know, one of the problems is anytime you have an area, you know, it's the old broken window. The worse it gets, the more likely somebody's going to toss that thing out, and it looks pretty bad. So, you know, everybody is doing it, so we've got to get a sweep in that area to get it cleaned up, see what we can do, see if we can identify who the culprits, the primary culprits are, at least the repeat offenders, and then we can take some specific action. So, I mean, I think that's the only answer. I'm sitting here trying to think what we can do, but that, I think, is going to be what it's
I
taking.
think that's the only viable option.
It really is. And
That is send a message.
We'll get our police involved, we'll get each of our departments involved in different ways, and really,
And
take
if the
aggressive.
businesses don't clean it up, then they can
Yeah, we'll
be nuisance.
go with them as well, and, maybe it's a meeting, but
Yeah,
I think
I would say if we have, for example, that car wash, if that gets in that condition, that's something we can file a nuisance against. The
It was,
township can collect,
we were there today on the basis of a nuisance.
Oh, good.
Did we clean it up?
Yes,
Yeah, we did.
So we cleaned it up.
30 hours of work. 30 hours.
Okay, I
worth of
missed
work.
that, okay.
Let me just add one other.
I think I was looking at-
to make Joe and the group feel better. Now that it's gone through the initial process, if it becomes an issue, we can take a lot quicker action. The action
Yep.
can actually occur within less than 2 weeks now. It's just, it's an extensive period of time to get through the initial process.
And the cost of that it's, coming out of the taxpayer's pocket to clean that up is going to get assessed back against that property, and hopefully someday we'll get that money back from them. But I think that's going to send a letter out to whoever owns that the status quo is not working. And it's going to, it's to their it's to their financial detriment to let it keep going like this. But the other question I have is, Joe, am I hearing from you that a lot of this is residential, and that you think it's primarily renters, not homeowners?
I probably believe most of them renters, it's just some of the renters not paying their garbage. That's the ongoing fight that we have down there quite a bit. Getting the renters to pay their garbage bill. They let garbage sit on the street 2 or 3 weeks. And now what they do, they find somewhere to dump it. They take it up to the car wash, they take it behind some of the apartments. The next you know, their dumpsters are overflowing. And it's not the residents that stay in the apartments, it's people that rent houses in Seven Hills that do not pay their garbage bill.
Well, and it's a lot of time.
Pick it up, so they gotta find somewhere to put the garbage, so what they do, they go in their car and they pick it up and find a dumpster. What the people are doing now, they're locking the dumpsters.
Oh,
Okay,
Oh.
so now they can't get into the dumpsters, so what they're doing now, they're just leaving it around the dumpster.
yeah.
Bags of garbage and furniture and mattresses and chairs, you name it. And this look like a landfill.
Yeah, and anytime somebody moves out, that's typically what they do. They just dump
Yes,
it
ma'am.
on the street.
Yes.
With the garbage, even with renters.
Can we have you come up to the microphone? Otherwise, people can't hear you. Please.
With the renters, y'all got that aggravation.
Garbage.
Or something, and even if the renters is not paying it, don't y'all send something to the owners or something, a bill to them for them to make sure the renters get the trash out?
Rumpke will, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Rumpke will. I'm wondering, if these are renters, are a lot of these CMHA properties?
Because we have it, because
Or if they are, can we do anything with CMHA to say these people aren't complying with?
Joe, I'm not going to say they always are, but, and Chris would know more about this, but
Yeah.
I think in a lot of cases, you have that renter moving out, and they're just dumping all their, as they move out, they're cleaning out. So there's really nobody to go after because they're gone. And
That's
they're
what
dumping
some
it.
of that
It's
look
really
like,
the-
yeah.
Yeah, especially when there's 3,
The
4
owner really is
mattresses in the yard.
responsible for it because they've taken all their stuff and dumped it out on the curb.
Well,
So,
and I
I'm
would-
not saying he's not responsible, but you can't really necessarily pinpoint that that's from his property.
Yeah,
But
but it's,
what I-
it is some renters that live there that don't take their trash out, and it just on the side of the houses, and then it gets
Yeah.
overflowed, and the rodents get in it.
Do it over there.
And they still live there.
In that case, we can do a nuisance on that.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you contact Cindy, Joe knows how to get in touch with her and just let her know, hey, there's a bunch of garbage on the side of the house at whatever address, then Mike and his guys can do a nuisance report, and then the guy who owns the house is going to get it added to his taxes, and then he's going to do something about it.
But I would also say, if someone sees someone dumping trash at the side of the curb, if you call the police, that's illegal dumping, and you can cite them for that. So that isn't the actual action of dumping is illegal, but we have to see someone do it, we have to know they did it. You can't just assume that's because it's in front of their house that they did it. So, but if you see someone, call the police, and then they can charge it.
Mostly do it late at night, early in the morning, you just don't see them.
Right.
Yeah, and in that case, we're gonna have to get at the owners for it.
Right.
But if you do see someone, do call, because it is a crime.
Laura, I just had a client come to me in my law office a couple weeks ago, and they were fined by the city of Cincinnati for their renter moved out, threw all this trash out on the street. They didn't get rid of it quick enough. They got fined, and then that fine starts doubling every 10 days or something.
Yeah,
Is there anything that we could do to deal with something like
typically,
that?
no. I mean, we haven't been able to do, because that's under their criminal code. Typically, we can't do that,
But I was gonna say, I'm gonna look and see if there's anything in the advanced home rule that can help us.
Might be able to do something with
Yeah.
that rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
The cities have little different laws than we do.
Yeah, y'all, like if we call Springfield Township, as far as somebody's grass, then call it, ever cut it, and y'all bill the owner or however y'all do
Yep.
that. Would that be the same way with trash?
Similar.
Yes.
Yes.
Similar.
Very similar. We would have to declare it a nuisance and go through a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And then that's when our guys would take action and go and clean it up and put it on the tax bill of whoever owns the property.
That's correct. And the only other thing I was going to note, tomorrow the crew will be out to Aspen Hill. I know that is another significant, large-size cleanup. We've got about 3 dump truck loads of trash that somebody who's renting the property just threw it all in the backyard. And they've abandoned the property. We've made every attempt to get a hold of the property owner, but at this point, we're left with no other choice but to clean up the property. So I know we've had some dialogue about that property, and the crew will be out there tomorrow to perform that one.
Joe, just make sure your residents are reporting these things because they may assume, well, I'm sure the next door neighbor called, so I don't need to call or whatever. And they just need to make, if we get a couple calls, that's fine. I'd rather have 2 people report it than nobody. Okay, sir, sorry.
My name's Dave Dargis. I live in 9136 Fountain And I'd just like to get an update on where we stand, our street in particular, on road improvements. I know there's some issues with, our street is deteriorating really bad. I'd just like to know where we stand, when we might have a meeting with our whole neighborhood. Just where are we with Fountain Blue? It's really bad.
Well,
If I can just get an
You want to,
Mike.
Mike, could you possibly address that?
Yeah. Fountain Blue, I agree with you completely. Fountain Blue is a street that we would identify as being failing and in poor condition. It is an eligible skip candidate for in the future. I think that some things that we have discussed internally is that we kind of wanted to know what the school was going to do. We didn't necessarily want to rebuild Fountain Blue and then have a lot of heavy construction with the school traveling back over a street that just was recently rebuilt. So it is a viable candidate for skip in the future. It's part of our 5-year infrastructure plan. Just currently don't have a definitive date as to when that's going to happen.
In particular, what is the school going to be doing?
Well, yeah, we're not, I can jump in there. We're not exactly sure what the school's going to be doing, but they are contemplating, the school is contemplating what they're going to be doing for their building facilities needs, whether they're going to be doing remodeling, whether they're going to be looking at constructing new facilities. They are now eligible for state funding, the state capital improvement program that is available. And I think the Board of Education is trying to decide exactly where they want to go. They have aging facilities, and they got to decide whether they're going to remodel those facilities or they're going to consolidate those facilities. And I don't believe they've made the decision, but that's probably going to be occurring within the next year or two, that decision, I would think, if not sooner.
I think their funding, they need to make a decision in the next year.
They're eligible to go and get the funding, correct, but then they would have to raise some locally to match it. But I don't think they've decided exactly what direction as far as the plan. Are they going to consolidate the elementaries? Are they going to build everything on one campus? Those are the decisions they've been sort of discussing for the last couple of years, and I think they're getting pretty close to saying,
So we're probably still years away from anything being done.
I don't know about years away. I think, as Mike said, we really have sort of 3 ways that we approach, we have condition rating of streets that are in good and fair condition, and we have a treatment option for those. The ones that are in the condition like Fountain Blue really require a total reconstruction of the road, and so the cost typically is going to exceed our wherewithal, and that's, I don't know if you're familiar with the SKIP program. The SKIP is a very competitive process where we've been very successful, where you get about half the money from the state and half of it is local money. And we are going to, in fact, I think it was our last meeting, we just came up with what projects we're going to apply for this year. I think Fountain Blue is certainly a good candidate for next year. Unfortunately, and it sounds like a broken record, we have more eligible streets than there are funding opportunities. I mean, they're just, it's the infrastructure is crumbling throughout the country. It's not unique in Springfield Township. We're aggressively on it. You know, we're repairing more roads this year than ever before. But if you live on that street, it's frustrating because you're going to wait, but there's literally 50 streets in the condition of yours.
Get all the police and fire and bus traffic.
I know you do. It's a busy street, but as
And that
Mike
would
said, I
help,
think
that would help their skip rating.
it definitely would, but as Mike said, if you're
Yeah.
going to be doing a major construction project, obviously we wouldn't want to rebuild the street and have heavy construction traffic tear it up in a brand-new street. So we're trying to time that, or at least know
With the
what the
school
school
board,
district's going to do.
The
So-
school's going to have to do something, and I think we're going to get a decision, I would think, from them shortly.
Yes, we're hoping.
Yeah.
What they're going to do.
Believe me, we would like to see the thing fixed. You know, we've tried, as the Board of Trustees, we can propose things to the voters. We can't enact taxes. We can propose a tax. We proposed a roads levy increase 4 times. 4 times. It was narrowly defeated. We need more money to repair all the roads in the township. And this is just, with this road issue, it's just a question of money. If we got the money, you can go out there and start paving roads. So we're doing everything we can. Mike Gould, in our Public Works Department, has done an excellent job putting together skip applications, helping us get state grants. But it's very competitive. It's hard to do, and we're doing everything we can, believe me, to repair as many streets as fast as we can.
You're welcome to come back and, in the near future, and we'll find, obviously, we're waiting on Finneytown to determine because they don't know what they're going to do. But I know that they do want to do it sooner rather than later. That's their plan, to do it sooner rather than later.
And they can drag that out for years before we get something.
I think they've already dragged it out for years, so I think they're getting to the point where something needs to
I
happen.
think they need to be pushed a little bit and make a decision on what they're doing.
And I think they're kind of at that point.
That's what's holding up Fountain Blue.
We
don't know that
also
that-
need to get the skip, it
It's
needs to
not
go through the
that-
skip
it's not-
process.
It's not that alone. It's a combination. We have about a little less than $500,000 a year in our road district, funds that can be put to road repairs. We've been taking money out of the general fund, out of other funds. We've been spending probably 300%, more on an average. What would you say, Mike? We're averaging about $1.5 million a year in road repairs. And so we're putting them everywhere we can. We're trying to stretch them with skip dollars. We've started a new program where for all the road repairs in the township, we've said if we're going to repair your street, we started a private assessment thing where the voters can vote to assess, put an assessment against their property for a limited number of years. And for a lot of these for a lot of the neighborhoods, it might be $80 a year assessment, and you're going to pay it for 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, but you're getting your street fixed that year. Mike and I and Chris Gilbert were down in the Ridgeway subdivision this past week talking to some people who had the exact same complaint. Our street's in bad shape. And we did a little quick math and said, Mike, didn't we say that without a skip project, the assessment was going to be like $465 a year? Which, we think is more than the average voter. You couldn't get, people will agree to $60 or $80 a year to get their street fixed, but if we say it's going to be $400, $500, we don't think that's going to sell either. So we're doing everything we can, and believe me, we know it's a problem.
When that time comes for us to have a meeting,
Yes,
like for our neighborhood,
yes.
how far in advance, how long does that process take? As far as surveying all the homeowners on that neighborhood?
It doesn't take us that long. Honestly, I think Wyoming Point, we met early this year, and When's that going to be done, Mike?
Be done this year.
Yeah.
So it happened in the same year.
Who does the surveying of the homeowners?
Well, now
Is there like a committee with?
I don't want you to be misled here. Your street's going to be a little different than a Wyoming Point. That was a voluntary assessment, and we would pack this room with people for these meetings, and it was almost in every one I was at, it was almost unanimous consent of the people here. Like, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's do it. On Fontainebleau, though, your road is going to need a major, torn out, redone. That's going to be a skip project. That's going to take some money, some state money. And on those projects, the Board of Trustees, we've come up with a policy that there's going to be a mandatory assessment on those. It's not going to be the vote of the people. So that's one where we're going to get 50% state match. The township's going to match another 40%, and whatever that 10%, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but about the remaining 10%. So you're going to have an assessment, maybe $60, $80, in that range. But on those where we're putting up 90%, we're telling the homeowners this is just part of the deal to get it done. So there wouldn't be a vote on
We have
on
to
a
get a
major
skip grant first.
Yeah, that's our tough thing, is getting the skip grant.
I mean, from what I read in that article back in February, it was like you need 51% of the neighborhood homeowners to
That's-
prove that they would take on X amount of
For-
dollars.
correct.
To pay for the road improvements.
That's on the voluntary projects where we're doing a road repair, which is much cheaper in cost. Maybe we're putting 2 inches of asphalt on the road, or we're doing Cape Seal or some of these other sealer products, and it's much cheaper. We're not ripping anything out. And for those, we are saying to the voters, your street's in pretty good shape now. We want to keep it good. We don't want it to start going the wrong way. And so we'll say, do more than 50% of you want this? And so those are different projects than Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau is a whole different.
Fontainebleau would be way more expensive.
What I might recommend is, I'd be happy to, maybe after this meeting, we'll get together, we'll set up a time, be happy to meet with you individually, we can explain this in a lot more detail, kind of walk you through what the process is, show you kind of some of the skip projects that are being applied for this year, which ones are, sort of on the horizon, which is the next group, how we do that, how the board makes those decisions. I think it'll give you more comprehensive, and then certainly if
that's
that's,
a great idea.
armed with that information, you can talk to some of your neighbors, and we can begin to, get that group, get a little ahead of the curve. But
We were at a neighborhood meeting on Saturday, a lunch thing. Half of them didn't even know, about when you talk about the 51%, they didn't even know about it. Not everybody gets the hilltop press, so
Right.
I'm not sure how else they would hear about it other than,
Well, typically, when there's a project being considered, we'll notify the residents and have a meeting here and go and explain it in depth. In each of those projects that we've discussed, that's the first step.
We would tell you how many years, how many dollars, all that information will be available before you voted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Lawrence Lowe, 1756 Gray Rick, 45231.
What's the street name?
Gray.
Gray Ridge? Thank you.
My complaint is pretty much the same as the one I am following. I've been in the area for 15 years. Gray Rick, playtime. I do want to express the appreciation. They come out and get that work. But patchwork is just temporary. We appreciate you coming by as in the wintertime, it's very early because we're on 2 hills. We got to get up and go to work. Do a great job there. The problem we have is patchwork. You put it down temporarily, within a month, it's back up again. And I understand what you're saying about funding, money. It's a matter of time when you're going to be able to get to those roads. But our roads are very, very rough. And it needs to have something done about it real soon. the way I feel about it anyway. You have pretty much explained, you know, what monies we have and the programs we have to try to get the matter resolved. So Mr. Gould has already explained that he don't know exactly where we stand or when it is going to be done. My expression, I hope it's done soon. Because, you know, you got people, you got cars come down there. We're not just hitting pebble holes, we're hitting hot holes. And the neighbors just don't appreciate that. And we all pay taxes, that's what we pay our taxes for. And we know that there's a limit that can be done. So we're just asking that if you can just take that under consideration, and I don't know where we stand into getting this done, how many years away, but hopefully we can be considered.
Mike, could you also meet with this gentleman after the meeting?
Mike already has.
Oh, Mike already has?
Mike already has.
Oh, okay,
We'd be happy to do it again, but that's,
okay.
you know, I think what we're looking at is we do each year, it's really with the board, you know, we present a list of potential candidates of projects, skip applications. We've got 5 of them that are going forward this year.
Yes.
And next year we'll have, you know, this happens to be a very small funding cycle, with just $3.5 million available countywide. So we're applied for 5, and Mike tended to sort of tailor our projects to the smaller ones to make us more competitive. Next year, obviously, we're hoping the funding will be back up to its typical, what is it, typically about 16, 17 million a year?
12 million.
At 12, so, you know, 3 or 4 times what it is this year, and we'll have a list of, as I said, there's absolutely no shortage of projects.
That's true.
I
And
mean,
we're not the only
we've
community
got-
that's facing the same struggles.
You know, we're not scratching our heads saying, gee, what can we apply for? We could put 25 applications forward easily. So that's part of the issue. I mean, that's, you know, it's just a question of the board prioritizing which ones. And I think as we saw this year, for the most part, you could have picked any of those 5 and made that your number 1 priority, is because the condition rating is all about the same. They're failed.
And one thing I wanted to note for the property owner on Fountain Blue and then yourself on Gray Rick, we're doing our due diligence. For example, I've already drafted the engineer's estimates as we evaluated different skip applications that we could submit. For Fountain Blue alone, you're talking in excess of $1.2 million to rebuild that street. That's why you want the timing, if the school were to do something, to be just right. Maybe eventually have to just rebuild it and move forward, but you don't want to invest that type of funding into a road and then only have somebody in big trucks and heavy equipment coming right behind it. And for Gray Ricket, you're talking in excess of $250,000. That's another street that has to be completely rebuilt. Not nearly the length, doesn't have concrete curb, but the subgrade is just shot. That street, I drove it, you know, I was out there, took a look at it, sent the crew out there, it's pumping mud. The clay subgrade is literally coming up through the pavement. It has to be rebuilt. It's not, as Mr. Hunter alluded to, it's not a matter of we don't know how to do it, it's just funding. You know, 1.4 million, when you're talking a mile and a half of road between those 2 streets.
We only have like 2 tenths of a mile.
Yeah.
And that was discussed with, what was your last name, sir?
You know, one of the things, we had a discussion with some of the people down in the Ridgefield subdivision that, Mike, you were bringing up, is whenever we do these projects, we have to bid them out at prevailing wages. And the state legislature has even, you know, we've even looked into, can we fix some of these smaller ones ourselves, in-house? Would it be feasible to do that? Well, the state legislature said, no, you can't. I forget, Mike, what the limit is. It $50,000? Yeah, if the repair's over $50,000, we're not allowed to do it. You know, it's lobbies by, you know, big contractors wanting the business. And so the state's passed a law that, you know, we can't even repair some of these smaller ones ourselves with our own personnel, assuming our personnel are overworked and stretched to the limit, but assuming we could, you know, to try and get it done cheaper, the state law prohibits us from that. So there could be some changes. You know, this is not unique to us. What was it, last year, City of Cincinnati got about all the skip money?
Yeah.
And, you know, they got it for last year and a bunch for this year. And every jurisdiction in Hamilton County, in one form or another, has the same kind of problem. Ours is kind of bad because this is a bedroom community. A lot of these subdivisions got all built around the same time. A lot of them are kind of going, the streets are, deteriorating at the same time. And we haven't been able to get the voters to increase. It's been since, I think, the last time we passed a road levy was 1990? 95, okay.
That was that was 4 attempts.
Yeah, and we tried 4 times since then. The voters said no, and so we said, okay, we heard you. But, you're voting for the kind of road you're going to have. Part of the other problem is every time we fix a road, then those voters say, my road's good, this is solved for me, they're not going to be back nobody's going to be back here fixing this one for a long time, so why should I vote to tax myself more? But, and that's why we're trying that's why we tried the assessments, and we've said to people, if you'll agree to this assessment, we're going to fix your road now. Unfortunately, like we said to the gentleman on Fontainebleau, we couldn't, if we said, how many houses are on your street? About 12, yeah, and it's $250,000. It would be a killer number. You couldn't have paid it. But it's certainly, we hear you, sir, absolutely. We understand the problem. We've been talking about it, with people. Each time we ran that road levy, all of us went around neighborhood by neighborhood, had meetings, cookouts, all kinds of stuff, trying to get the word out to people and explain to them the problem. And, I think in the end, and we were kind of going, there were some tough times, we had the recession and different things. I think it was tough times. People were scared about their finances, and so they were against it,
Joe, what does we're talking about, I don't think people understand this, about them paying the assessment. Let's say it's a $1,000 road fix. The assessment covers usually what percentage?
It's generally 50%.
So the township pays 50% each time?
On the type of projects that we do, on
That's
voluntary assessment, you're generally somewhere between a 50-50. I think the most the township has done is a 60. A lot of that depends on whether it needs curb.
Well, I just want them to
So,
understand.
Roughly
it won't work for
50-50, somewhere in there.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't work
And
if his road is that
right.
bad.
In the case of a skip project, as Joe said, you're looking, generally 40% of the money's coming from township funds, 50% of the money's coming from skip funds, and roughly 10% on the assessment. But that 10%, because the project cost is
Right.
10 times larger, is equal. We try to keep the assessment to relatively about $1 million or $1.5 million of taxes. So it's about that equivalent. Doesn't work out that way perfectly in every neighborhood, but in most cases, it's pretty close.
Well, I just want him to understand that $1.2 million project, the township's going to put up, what, $540,000, Skip's going to put up $600,000, the residents are going to put up $60,000. So, I mean, the township's spending the money to do this. We're just trying to get the residents involved in a small way so we can do more streets.
But I guess it would be useless to put some kind of seal over the highway up to that point, or can it be done?
I think if it's mud's coming up through the substrate, sealant will just, we would be kidding ourselves.
And one thing I just would also like to share, because you've talked with Mike and you've heard some of the dialoguing that we've had this evening with you and other individuals, people can promise you the world. That's one of the things that we as trustees are very honest and factual with our residents. We don't say that we can do this for you and it's going to happen in such and such a time and you don't have to worry about anything. Anybody that comes to you saying, I'm going to fix that street, that gray rig, and so they're not doing a good job, but you need to know the total picture because it's not easy. It takes time, and the timing is critical regarding when we can apply for skip dollars, and again, and it's very competitive as well. So I just want to just share with you, be cautious about anyone that promises you that they're going to fix your road and next year and all that stuff. Just vote me in. It doesn't happen that way.
Well, Gwen, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of miscommunication about, the township's got all this money and we're spending it on other things, and that's just really not the case. I mean, we're spending more money on infrastructure improvements right now than we ever have at any time, and it's been a priority in my 22 years. I've been here for 22 years, and we have focused on road projects, have been one of the number one priorities of this board since then. So it is difficult. It's an infrastructure issue. It's not, as Joe said, it's not unique to Springfield Township. It's throughout our country. I mean, if we can't fix a bridge that goes across the river, no one can figure out where to come up with the funding for that, and that's going to be, what we face all throughout the United States. So, it's not an excuse. We've got a 5-year plan. That 5-year plan is going to work. Most of the assessments that we're talking about, the one thing we really haven't talked about, the nature of what that's designed to do is fix streets that aren't failed.
Right.
And it's a maintenance process that never lets the street get to the condition that yours is. That's really where the assessment process works best. In fairness, we're doing it on all projects, making sure that, everybody all the residents have to have a little additional skin in the game. But what we're doing now, which we've never done, is we're now working on and fixing streets that are in fair and good condition to make sure they stay there. And then we're using the skip process to eventually catch up with the ones that are failed. It's not going to be an easy process, but there's some other options out there with tax anticipatory notes and things like that that we can look at to, try to address some of those things. But, the 5-year plan is going to work. I mean, for many, many years, we're falling further and further behind every year, and now we're at a point where we are catching up. So we're making progress every year, but, if you live in your situation, that's not what you want to hear. You want to have your street fixed, and we hear that loud and clear. So the bottom line is we want to get to them as quickly as we can.
Mr. Lowe, we talk about it all the time. I mean, that's the number one priority, honestly, of the township. The roads are the biggest problem that we have because the amount of money that it would take to fix all the roads and bring them up to par is it's tens of millions of dollars. So we're trying to do whatever we can. That's why we came up with letting the homeowners participate and all these other things, along with the skip grants and everything else. We're working on the problem. I know that doesn't help you today, but we are working on the problem.
It's greatly appreciated to hear this, and also, it's just that when someone wanted to be heard in that, let them know that our city is in need of that. So since we know what the situation is, we have kind of like all in our program, so to speak. Just wait our turn. But in the meantime, I appreciate what Mr. Blue has done for us, and hopefully continue to have a dialogue with myself and the other neighbors in the neighborhood.
We appreciate you coming here tonight.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
This lady's been trying to step forward.
We'll get everybody.
My name's Karen Nazarovich, and I'm a property owner on Corbett Road, 45231. And I believe this area is known as Winton Northeast. I'm talking about the area of Winton Road, Corbett Road, and Lake Ridge. As Mr. Hinnenkamp said, we were notified as property owners when the fruit and vegetable stand at the corner of Winton and Corbett was being sold, and the current owner was attempting to purchase it, and we were invited to a meeting about what we agreed to or our decisions about things, but we haven't heard anything else. The property is now owned. It's called the Citrus Tree. We heard that he was wanting to put a store, a permanent, store there. We were also told that I guess his property is zoned for business, but that whole section of Corbett Road could possibly be zoned for business. We've heard about the school across the street, Winton Elementary, being torn down, and some rumors about what's going to be put there. green space or property, and also that Winton Woods school bus, the office and the bus depot was possibly going to move. And we were just wondering what's happening regarding the citrus tree, if that store is going in, what's happening to the school property, and if this is not the correct venue, if you could direct me to who could help me.
Give a quick overview.
Did you do that?
The easy answer, or the really simple answer is, we don't know yet, 100%. We are, we've had contact on all of those issues. I don't think there's been any decisions made. Start with the citrus store owner. I think the last thing he is deciding is still trying to, make that project economically feasible. The biggest issue he's dealing with is sewer. And so he is still in negotiations or discussions. The last I had heard with MSD, they want him to, basically put a sewer line in, that if he puts that line in, it's terribly expensive. It just doesn't make sense for him to do that on his own. So what he's looking for is maybe a temporary fix, and then down the road, if there's further development on Corbett, then all of those property owners can eventually tie into it. But I think that's where that stands. We've had meetings with Winton Woods School District. I don't believe they know what they're going to do with the school. We've indicated that the township is very interested in that property and wants to make sure that whatever the reuse of it is something that's appropriate. And we believe that that property should be given to Springfield Township because we're the only jurisdiction in their school district that won't have a school. So we are going to, as they consolidate and move everything up into Forest Park and into Green Hills, the township will be the only one in that school district that actually doesn't have a facility, and we will be economically impacted through the loss of JED's revenue. So we believe the school district should make that property available to Springfield Township. We haven't, we've made that pretty clear to them, but they haven't made any decisions at this point. So we don't know. We're having, the same kinds of discussions. We're reviewing them, but there's nothing we know that you don't know at this point for sure, because quite frankly, none of those decisions have been made. But there are a lot of positive possibilities in that area, without question.
Then my question would be, will we be notified when, in other words, I guess you're saying that the current owner of the citrus tree may keep it the way it is unless he can come up with something feasible economically to build the store and the sewer specifically. I know what he's talking about because we're all septic.
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding that he has approval to do, so you probably wouldn't be notified any further if he builds what the previous meeting, discussed and ultimately where he was approved to build a, more permanent structure on that property. So you probably wouldn't see anything, wouldn't receive any specific notifications about that. If there was anything different or any hearing other than somebody wanting to do something, obviously you would in the same format, and you feel free to call myself or Chris on a regular basis. We'd be happy to let you know if there are any developments on that front.
Chris
is not here tonight.
He's not here tonight. Chris Gilbert.
Chris Gilbert's is not.
It's right there. He's not here.
An empty chair. But no, I mean, you feel free to call me.
It's an empty chair anyway.
And we'd be happy to give you updates.
I have my name here. Is there anything else on this?
Yeah, she was raising her hand.
I think I saw on Springfield Township's website that there's maybe a 5-year plan for that area where the school currently is, maybe for special purpose residential. So we were wondering if the homeowners in the area have any input on what goes in there, because it will definitely affect us.
Absolutely you would. Anything that went in there would require, other than to be built, other than what it's currently zoned, would require a rezoning, and you would receive notification of anything, of that hearing.
Ability to object to any proposed.
Absolutely. Through that process, yeah. You'd see the notification. And typically what we generally do before the formal process, if we have a developer that wants to do something in an area that's going to require a rezoning, we generally do a sort of informal meeting with the residents, allow you to get input. It's just generally a much better process to go through. So if something, I think we're quite a ways away from that happening, but if and when that takes place, you would get notification for such a meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Janie and Donald Baskin, okay.
You got an address? Thank you.
And my concern is the street, you know, just like the neighborhood has become unsafe. It has become a hangout for the neighborhood. The traffic there is terrible. People hang out there. We have activities, you know, illegal activities going on all the time. And just like the drive, they come in and out, and also, you know, like the residents, they hang out on the street, their friends hang out on the street, they trash the street, they do all kind of illegal things, but it's put in your face. I mean, our safety and living environment has become a problem. We have our family come over to visit, our friends come over to visit, and they're concerned about our safety. You know, what they see, you know, across the street and down the street. But it became a very, very bad problem. A couple of weeks ago, the gunshots fired. The first meeting I attended last year, I talked about my concern of the large gathering of the people at the Birch Ridge. And I expressed that here at the meeting, and that I was concerned about the safety of us living there. So this started, this is getting worse over the last 2 years, it's just a terrible place to live.
In another property right across the street from us, there was a shooting, and there was a couple of people who ran over from the middle property in which marketplace. They could have came to where the gunshots could have came from anything. So, and then it came out, the guy worked for all the cars coming up, the drug dealers, which is very bad.
Hi. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. I know I've worked a lot with Mr. Rivers specifically to that location that you're talking about. It was quiet for a while because we made a number of arrests there, and we actually worked with the property management to have those individuals evicted. They have since taken on a new group of individuals who are worse than the ones before. So in the last, I'd say, maybe Mr. Rivers can help me, 3 or 4 months, we've been talking about that. We've made a number of arrests again there. The particular incident that you're talking about, we did apprehend those individuals that did fire the shots, and we did recover their weapon. We're again working with, in the last few days, the apartment management to get rid of the source of that problem, because the individuals that we keep coming in contact with do not even live in Seven Hills. So with that, we take an approach that's twice as bad with us, is that you're visiting Seven Hills and you're engaging in that kind of activity. So again, we are actively working on that situation, I promise you. They're walking, they're on bicycles. You never know where they may be coming from, but I can tell you, there's been over 50 arrests there in the last month. That particular
50
location.
arrests?
50 associated with the ones visiting, including the incident that occurred at the Sunoco last week. Those individuals were apprehended as well, who had been hanging out at the Birch Ridge location and were causing a lot of the problems there as well. So understand that there's some aspects of ongoing investigations that I can't comment on, but I will explain that we are currently very actively doing law enforcement activities at that location.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, my name is Shirley Cure, and I live at 9344 Monte Carlo Drive. How is everyone? What I like to say is, I heard you say something about tethering a dog and these new regulations that you're going to put in place. I hope that you, when you do, that it will be to keep their dog on their property. There's this one lady that has this part pit bull that was in our yard Sunday, and that dog was trying to attack my daughter. So that could be a big problem. They need to keep their dog on their property. I'm not saying how, I don't know how, but they have the dog, they should do it.
Did you contact the police when?
I've contacted, I won't say him, but I've contacted the police and I've talked to them. The police have been at her door. I've talked to her twice before I even contacted the police. My daughter has gone over there and talked to her twice. And this time, she was really livid with that lady and that dog.
Well, unfortunately, the resolution we passed has to do with inhumanely treating dogs, and it doesn't have to do with that. The only option I think you have is to call the police and have them come out and
Yeah, the lady was,
Rob?
the lady wouldn't even go near the dog. Go ahead.
I think I caught this when I was going through the records management. I believe she gave her a ticket for a dog at large, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what we do in instances like that. If they, if they're running at large, that's a minor misdemeanor ticket, and that's a substantial fine. So I'm pretty sure that did occur on that one.
Okay, this dog is always coming in my yard. I don't know what the problem is there, but it's always in my yard. And I have a grandbaby, my great-grandbaby that's staying with me. I wouldn't want him to be out there playing and this dog attacked.
So the dog is unleashed, is that what it is?
Yes, this dog is unleashed.
That's against the law.
It sure is.
you need,
One day I was walking the street and he was on the other side of the street. But that
Not
dog was
supposed to be.
coming up here like he was gonna attack me. And the one thing I did was just stood there because I could not run him.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world I could outrun that dog.
don't be bashful about calling the police when he's running around the neighborhood, and they'll come out and maybe if she'll get enough tickets, she'll figure out that this is a bad idea.
There's been some instances where we wrote an individual tickets that I know cost them $2,000 by the time they paid all the fines, because the neighbor called and called and called, and we wrote a ticket each time we went there, and that's, sometimes that's what it takes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
My name is May Rivers. I'm Joe Rivers' wife. I live at 2068 Blue Hill Drive. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you all for what you all have done in our neighborhood. But there are things and many things that yet need to be done. We need help. As Joe said, we need a lot of help. I have spent most of the summer on the phone talking with Sydney, giving her address after address after address. I have did my own investigation on the townhouses that's there in Seven Hills, contacting the people who manage these townhouses, giving the names to Sydney, and today, a year later, we're still facing the same problem. So it lets me know that nothing is being done. They get to do what they want to do. Because if it was being done, we shouldn't have to keep repeating the same thing. There has to be some kind of program that can be implemented so that these things can be done. Because if these people was being given a fine, like Joe said, we wouldn't be seeing the same thing. I mean, think about it. If you had a place and you can do what you want to do, would you ever get things done? You just leave it done anyway. All of you all have neighborhoods that you go in every day, and you wouldn't want to see your neighborhood looking like our neighborhood. Joe passed the pictures around. That's not the first time the car wash has been reported. You guys cleaned the car wash up before. Now, from the pictures that Joe just showed you all, it was in a deployed way, where it's been that way before. By now, you all should have contact and know who owns that car wash. And if the proper procedures has been followed, then we wouldn't be looking at this again. And we would not be even telling you all about it again. So we need help. The peoples, again, that's in Seven Hills, when you talk about Renter Center, I have some pictures. This is what some of the things that we have to look at. We're not renters, we're homeowners. We pay high taxes where we live at. Yesterday, I had called Renter Center, and I had asked them about what you all are looking at. The receptionist who I spoke to, her answer to me was, it's not ours, so we're not going to do anything about it. So, of course, that's not what I wanted to hear, because that's not helping the problem. It's on their property, but she said to me, it's not ours, we did not do it, so we don't see the need to clean it up. So I called Sydney, and I told her about it. She told me that she would look into it. Being that, again, I am a homeowner, I just wasn't pleased with what was said to me. So I called back today, and I spoke to someone by the name of John, and I did get a much better answer today. John told me that the process is that the garbage is emptied every other week. And he did tell me that the people that live in the complex, the apartment complex, does bring garbage there. And he said that they would make sure that the garbage be taken away. He also told me that he had gone into the bags, because I told him, I said, isn't there some kind of way that you can see, if they're leaving bags, can't you see addresses from bags that was there? And he told me he did just that. He gave me the addresses. He told me he had got in touch with the police department, and he said that the police department said that they would go and cite the two peoples whom address was given. I don't know what else to say about the dumpsters that's being left out like that, because we have to come in our neighborhood every day and see it in such a deployed way. Is there a code, a violation that can be given that anyone that has a dumpster, can they have it in case where no one can see what we're looking at? Again, I say, I used to live in the Fay Apartments, as Joe said, and the Fay Apartments, if you go there today, it's let you know something has been done. That neighborhood has no paper today, no homeowners. These are all apartments, peoples. So what are they doing that we're not doing? You go to Wind Terrace don't have paper like Seven Hills. They're not homeowners, we are. So somebody can help us. We are the little peoples. You all are the big peoples. If we're reporting this, then why are we continuous to report it? Where does it stop at? Somebody has to take responsibility and do what needs to be done. So again, I say, thank you for giving me this time to hear my voice. But I will feel better if you take the time and work with us to get the job done. Thank you.
Mrs. Rivers, if I could say something, if there's something that's kind of come out of this meeting tonight, is that we have a trash problem in Seven Hills. in these dumpsters, I couldn't tell from the picture, where is that dumpster?
Rent-A-Center.
Rent-A-Center, okay. I think what Mr. Hennenkamp said is that we need to get together our staff, our police department, the road crew. We need to get everybody together, Mr. Gilbert, and come up with a comprehensive plan, Laura Abrams, to look at what we can do. We need to come up with a way to start enforcing, in a stricter way, within the law, what we can do to get a handle on this. And so I think it makes sense for all of us to get together, try and address this problem. And, it's going to take a little bit of, a little bit of time, a little bit of work on our part, but I think let's see if there isn't a way that we can make a difference. I get what you're saying.
I thank you so much for what you're saying. Also, I understand everything has to go through a process, but the process that you all have to declare something as being a nuisance, it takes too long. I mean, we spend our whole summer looking at high grass, and every time it has to go to a process. The summer will be gone. I mean, and we spent the whole time looking at our neighborhood, yet with so many yards needing to be cut that needs to go to this process.
Well,
So can you all look at the situation and the time frame that you all are given a process? Because it's just too long.
Originally, doesn't the process take like 45 days to go through? But once we have a nuisance, can't we go, we can expedite it to like what, 2 weeks?
Okay.
So if we have a nuisance complaint in June and we cut it, 2 weeks later, it's a mess, you call, we'll cut it we don't have to go through the whole process, but it takes 2 weeks after that to get it done.
Okay,
Time.
and this is what I'm saying, because there are houses out there that has been empty for years. Okay, and we're continually calling. What if we don't call? Then when is it going to get cut? Can anybody?
We send people out and look, I have no idea.
And this is what I also want to know.
Most of the feedback comes, we don't like police at looking for vacant homes, but we depend on feedback from our neighbors if there's something that you feel is a problem in your community. The other thing I just wanted to add to what we're talking about, because I think we alluded to it earlier, and I know Mr. Rivers said something when we were talking, and I think you were sitting back there when he was sharing his concerns.
Yes.
It's not only the residents and the neighbors, but it sounds like it's the businesses have to, they have to be more responsible and accountable as well. But I think if we put together a conservative team effort, just what Mr. Hennenkamp indicated, that, it's going to take a little time, but I truly believe that this problem can be improved. I'm not going to say it'll ever go away, but if we work with the businesses, with the residents, and if there are renters in there that are with CMHC, and we have had working agreements with them, which we had done a robust job at one point, but it sounds like it's kind of going back again. So if we can just work together as a team and as a community, and we should be able to get some of those issues addressed in a timely manner.
And I appreciate what you're saying, but, Mr. Rivers also shared with you SHAG, and we're very thankful for SHAG group we have now, because if there was not a SHAG group, our community would be in a deployed way. And I want to know, whose job is it to ride around in our community to see what we're seeing and to do something about it? Or are they just waiting on us to call? Because if we don't call, then nothing is being done. This shouldn't be. This is somebody's job, that they should be riding in our neighborhoods, looking at the same deployed neighborhood we're looking at and doing something about it. It's got to be a different way that we can approach our community.
To work with our department heads and work with you all again and see what we can do as far as that time frame is concerned. So I think the meeting that you're talking about, Mike, if we can all get together, put together some goals and objectives and some particular time frames and move forward from there.
We need some kind of implementing programs going on, and we need it very bad. Also, one more thing I need to show. There's a pony kid that's on with the house joint. I had got a hold of Sydney, and I told her about, the paper that was blowing and, how he had needed to come and clean, the area off. And she told me that she would, see what she could do. He did come, and he had cut trees and things down, but today, it still looks like this. One of your peoples had came out to see the work, and they said that it was okay, but it's not okay. He left it just like that. So he needs to come back, take care of the situation, so that it can look just like he has done what he was supposed to have done. And it's still there, but they said that it was okay. But it's not okay, because I don't think that there's nobody at this panel here would like to see someone supposedly to cut down trees, clean up weeds, and leave them in a pile just like that. So again, thank you for your time, and thank you for, the help in moving forward to get Seven Hills back like a community should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank
Rivers.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to address the board? Okay, if there's no other business before the board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.